Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 377 for the 7th of March. Let's start off with the Southern Front. At the Southern Front, the Ukrainians have captured this western part of this island, this Potomsky or Potomkin Island. So the Ukrainian forces attack. They previously have this region here. This is the area that they have controlled. And then they actually attack westward and now captured this area here. Personally, I don't think this is very meaningful. Strategically, this is rather pointless. But anyway, yeah, a capture is a capture. Good job. And there is also a Sukhoi 25 shot down over Kreminna. And this is yet another Ukrainian ground attack aircraft getting shot down over the Kherson front. Which is basically a stagnant front due to the river, the Dnipro river that's dividing the Russian forces and the Ukrainian forces. And this continues to indicates or signal to me that the Ukrainian forces continues to have some ambition to cross over to the southern side of the Dnipro river to launch their offensive towards Crimea. So, or at least liberate the rest of the Kherson region. Moving on to the Zaporizhia line. At the Zaporizhia line, we have bombardments reported by the Russian Defense Ministry at Malatoshmashka, at Dorozyanka. Dorozyanka, under our mapping, is under Russian control. They say it's in the area, so I believe that it's supposed to be near Dorozyanka, under Ukrainian held areas, and also at Novosilka. Over at the Velika Novosilka region here, and otherwise it's still pretty quiet over at the Zaporizhia region. Moving on to the Donetsk Front. So Donetsk in the southeast of Ukraine, and the Donetsk Front at the Volada region, the shelling reports continues at Volada and Palivka, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, and no ground offensive in this region. I'm not even sure if the Russians actually have this area anymore, because it doesn't look very holdable. It doesn't look like you can actually defend this place very well. Moving on into the Marinka region. At the Marinka region, we have fighting reported at Marinka, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, and Ryba, the pro-Russian source, also reported fighting at Volada. So they say that there's a expanding control zone in the vicinity of the village. So not exactly sure what they're supposed to mean. So just fighting at Volada. Moving on to the northwest part of Donetsk city, at the Edifka front. At Edifka front, there is fighting reported at Nevelsky, Povomaisky, both is from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. There's fighting reported north of Vodian. So the Russian forces at the Vodian region, previously they hold this line with the Ukrainians having a stronghold in this position. The Russian forces have captured this stronghold and they are now pushing northward over the stronghold. So towards the direction of Chizhevka. There is also fighting reported at Chizhevka, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. I'm not sure if this actually is referring to the same offensive. Maybe it is referring the same offensive at Vodian. So moving on, we have fighting reported at Edifka, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. However, the attack might not come from the south, because there is fighting reported at Kayamka, also reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. And I also cannot be sure this is actually coming from the east, because altogether there is actually a Russian offensive coming from the north, from the northern region, with Surya maps reporting that the Russian forces has captured this village of Vasily, and in this southwest part of Vasily or northwest part of Kayamka, the Russians also managed to have some breakthrough around this river or reservoir region. And further up north, there's also fighting reported at Horiska. So if you look at this situation around this area, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry saying that the fighting reported at Kayamka might actually be referring to this. And fighting at Edifka could be referring to this. Is unclear. So we can assume that there is some kind of Russian offensive in this area here. They are attacking this area. They captured Vasily, fighting at Krasnohorivka. The likely objective is to actually close up the front line all the way to the edge of Edifka. So likelihood is that this is the objective of the Russian forces. And moving on north of this region here, there is also fighting reported at Novokalinove as well as at Alexandropil. So not just the fighting reported at Krasnohorivka, the Russians are also pushing from Novobakhmutivka towards Novokalinove, and there's also a push northward towards Alexandropil. So basically, the Russian forces is trying to create a bigger line or zone of control around the north of Avdiivka city. Moving on, there's nothing else at New York front, and moving into the Bakhmut front. At the Bakhmut front, the Ukrainian forces reported fighting near Chizhevka. Chizhevka is here, so there's fighting reported at Chizhevka. Not exactly sure if the fighting is actually here. It could also be here. The problem is that the Ukrainian Defense Ministry actually do use the word Ivanivsky, so which actually means that if there's fighting reported with the Russian forces attacking Ivanivsky around this area here, then the name of when they name drop the Chizhevka is probably not in the northern area. So I suspect that the attack is coming towards the west or southwest of Chizhevka. In today's report, Ryba reported the Ukrainian attack near the highway, with the Ukrainians continue to try to push the Russians back away from the highway region, and the Ryba in today's I think 11 a.m. reported that the Ukrainians are counterattacking at Ivanivsky as well. So there is this attack at Ivanivsky. There is also a news in this area here. Apparently this bridge here has been destroyed. I'm not exactly sure when this happened, but Ryba reported that this bridge has been destroyed, and as a result, the road here is now not usable. That means the highway at Ivanivsky ends here. There's no way to cross over to the other side because there is this river. There's this not say river, but actually there's a canal here that breaks the road. So which is kind of awkward, because there is geolocation of Ukrainian forces at this position. So according to the pro-Russian source Ryba, they said that the Ukrainian forces were forced into the country roads. Apparently, this Ukrainian armored column, or a few armored vehicles, they were traveling down this road, and then they realized they cannot cross. So they actually drove up and actually tried to hide in this forest region. However, they got spotted by the Russian UAV, and then they bombarded these vehicles. So that is the story being reported by Ryba, and that would be really troublesome. They can actually cross over in this area here, as you can see. There's this dirt track all the way along this canal region, which they can continue to drive and across here, and then they can actually go northward, or they actually can go southward towards the highway region, or actually go by another road through the dirt roads. And so maybe they were doing that, but maybe the Russian forces are really close somewhere, and maybe there's UAV flying around, so the UAV flying around, make them very scared, which is why they hide. Anyway, moving on. So we have covered Ivanivsky. We are now into the Bakhmut city. Bakhmut city, the biggest news is Prigozhin have announced through his Telegram announcement channel that they have captured the entire eastern part of the Bakhmut city. Everywhere east of this river here is now under Wagner control or Russian control. So this is actually reported only today. This is today's information, 8th of March, and the yesterday they were still fighting in the eastern part and the southeastern part of Bakhmut, with the Ukrainians, the Ukrainian pro-Ukrainian source Deep State UA mapping the map as still like this, with the river here. So the Russians were still, you know, trying to attack in this area. Even pro-Russian sources, the Ryba, also says that the front line is more or less like this. However, Prigozhin announced the full capture of this area, and Prigozhin is or at least the Wagner group is highly credible. They have proven to be extremely credible sources in the way they say things. Everything that they say tends to be true. Because that's their way of operating. They don't pre-announce any information. So if they say it's captured, there's a 99% chance it's really captured. So yeah, so when they say they have no ammunition, I would say, you know, give them a 70% that a high chance they really don't have enough ammunition by their own standards. By their standards, I'm not saying by Russian military standards. And fighting is also reported in the south, according to Ryba, in the southern part of Bakhmut. In the northern part of Bakhmut, the Russian forces have captured the Ilyinovka region, according to Deep State UA. So previously, the Russians are still at this line. Now they have managed to push through and capture the entire area in the north part of Bakhmut city. And fighting is now continuing in the northern part of Bakhmut, with the Russian forces are now crossing over after the capturing of this region here. And according to the Russian Defense Minister, Sergei Shoigu, sorry, he in his conference call with the leaderships of the Russian military, he announced that Bakhmut is one of the most important nodes of the defense of the Ukrainian army, and capturing Bakhmut will allow the Russian forces to continue their offensive deep into Ukrainian positions. And so basically he highlights in Bakhmut is actually an important military objective, which is very suspicious, in my opinion. No, why would you want to say that? Especially, none of the Russian forces are only doing supporting role in the rear, supporting the Wagner attacks in this area here. So, and then this comes as a contradiction to Wagner's assertion that they are not given enough ammunition by the Russian military to continue their attack and offensive. So I'm not sure if it's a ploy to encourage the Ukrainians to continue to push even more troops into this area here, and to defend the line, because when the Russian Defense Ministry put it that way, it feels like you have no choice but to really hold this line, because it sounds like no worse things is going to happen if Bakhmut is lost. So it just feels weird and unnatural, and something is not right somewhere, somehow. So I would not take this statement with a massive pinch of Volada. So the Ukrainian forces is reportedly counterattacking at Kreminna region, according to Ryba. They are trying to continue to hold the lines, but it feels like the counter offensive is getting a bit weaker, because the reports of counter offensive locations is only at Ilyinovka and Kreminna. So, and also at Dfka in this region here. However, the Russian forces have managed to push here, and they are fighting very close to the highway towards Chizhevka in this area here. So far, the Ukrainians actually do not actually use this road here. They actually use the road further down, going up the dirt road, and then they actually go through towards Chizhevka. This entire area here is not used. They don't use this road. They don't use this area of the road because it's under Russian fire control already. This road is entirely under Russian fire control. So moving up north, there is fighting reported at Donetsk, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. However, Ryba in today's report saying that at this moment the Ukrainians are conducting counter-offensive, which means the Russians were pushing in this direction, and then now the Ukrainians are counter-attacking to push back the Russian forces. And fighting is also reported near Bakhmut. Yes, in the morning report by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. And Bakhmut is kind of weird because Bakhmut is actually here. And how do you be near Bakhmut? I have no idea, because we have information that the Russians have captured Ilyinovka region. We know that the entire northern part is also captured by the Russian forces. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry, they themselves reported fighting at Dfka and Dubovo Vasilivka. So where is the near Bakhmut? I have no freaking idea where they are talking about. So, and at Dubovo Vasilivka, just as I was saying, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry reported there is fighting at Dubovo Vasilivka, and they also emphasized major attack against Orikovo Vasilivka. They emphasized that over the past day, on the 7th of March, the Russian forces carry out more than 30 attacks against Orikovo Vasilivka. So there's definitely some kind of a heavy push against this objective. And there's also fighting reported towards Zaliniansky according to Surya maps. And so things are continuing, but no details, we don't really have it. So moving on into the Siversk Front. So because that's it from the Bakhmut Front. Oh yeah, I think I missed out about the Ukrainian Sukhoi 25 shot down over Chizhevka. This is shot down by the Russian Air Force. So again, this is yet another 20, 30 kilometers, maybe 40 kilometers. It seems to be, aircraft seems to be shot down around that range, between 30 to 40 kilometers range from the front line. So you can, for those that are interested in aviation or Air Force fighter jets or missiles, you can actually try to deduce what kind of missiles is being used. Over at Fedorivka, the Russian forces are currently attacking Fedorivka and Rozdolivka, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry and Deep State UA. And over at the area of Vimka, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry also reported fighting near Vimka as well as at Spurny. So the Russian forces is attacking in this direction and continue to be attacked at Spurny. Geolocation of Ukrainian forces is at this position. The video actually is the Ukrainians actually launched an attack on the Russian position that was previously here, and they actually overrun the position. So this area here is definitely under Ukrainian control. But this actually still corroborates with our mapping that we haven't really changed for some time already. So moving on, there is also fighting reported at below Horiska. According to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, this is likely not attacked by the Wagner group, probably being fought by the Luhansk People's Republic militias. And there is shelling reported at Krychorivka, according to the Russian Defense Ministry in their yesterday's report. And we are now into the Kreminna front. So in case you guys are lost, we are now going here. Okay, there's a back cross here. So into the Kreminna front, we have fighting reported within the Serebryansky forestry, according to Deep State UA. There is also fighting reported at Toske, according to Myro Shenikov, a pro-Ukrainian source, and also at Zarishne, which means the situation remains more or less unchanged, with the Russian forces continue to push in these lines. The Russian Defense Ministry only reported shelling near Dibrova. So it could be the case where the fighting within the forestry is actually nearer to Dibrova. So the front line might not actually be here, but actually the front line might actually be here. So the Russian forces might have already progressed due to the lack of information talking about Kreminna region, which is why I deduced that the front line within the forestry might have changed. So moving on into the northern part of the Kreminna front, the Russian forces continue to be pushing in this region here, with Surya maps reported fighting northwest of Chervonopopivka. So he marked, so Surya maps mark the front line here. This is the Russian front line according to SITREP maps. According to Ryba's information, the fighting is actually here, in the hilly region just west of this valley region here. So so I'm not sure who is correct. I just going to put it the double mapping as per this what we are seeing now. And there is fighting reported at Nevsky according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. And this is also why I felt that maybe the front line, the one that's Ryba, is probably a bit more correct, because you would not use fighting at Nevsky if your fighting is actually in this area here. You're fighting here, then it makes sense to call it Nevsky. Anyway, the Russian forces, the Russian Defense Ministry only reported shelling at Nevsky. They did not mention ground operations. And Makiivka also see fighting near Makiivka according to Deep State UA. So the Russian forces continue to be attacking in this area here against the Ukrainian lines that is at Makiivka, Nevsky, and near Chervonopolivka. Moving on, we are into the Svetove Front. At the Svetove Front, we do not have ground operations, only have shelling being reported at Makiivka and Andriivka, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. And moving into the Kupyansk Front. At the Kupyansk Front, we have shelling reported at Kreminna, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, as well as at Pishane. The shelling is also being reported near Kreminna, in opposite of Vorishna. And however, this is not acknowledged because the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, actually it's also some kind of corroboration. They say that the Russian forces conducted offensive action towards or in the area of Kreminna. So it could be the attack, maybe there's some ground push, but most of it is actually just a bombardment as they try to creep forward, and the Ukrainian Defense Ministry simply noted this as an offensive. So that's it from the Kupyansk Front, and I think that is all. So thank you for watching. This is the summary for the day of 377 for the 7th of March. Subscribe, press the like button, yeah, and I see you in the next update.